The massive crystal chamber filled with worried voices. Hundreds of alien beings from across the galaxy sat in floating chairs, all talking at once. Their translator devices buzzed and clicked as different languages mixed together in the air. Ambassador Veltar stood at the center of the room. His body looked like living glass, changing colors as he moved. Right now, those colors showed fear. Deep, ancient fear that made the other aliens stop talking and listen. "Friends from across the stars," Veltar said, his voice reaching every corner of the Great Hall. "We must talk about the humans." A loud crash echoed through the chamber. Commander Zephyros had slammed his armored fist on his desk. The big warrior looked like a giant bug covered in metal plates. His red eyes glowed with anger. "Humans?" Zephyros laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "Those weak creatures can barely leave their own planet. They fight each other with primitive weapons. What could they possibly do to us?" Veltar's crystal body turned a darker blue. "That is exactly what the Vorth Empire said 2 million years ago, and the Keld Republic before them, and 16 other civilizations that no longer exist." The chamber grew quiet. Every alien in the room knew about the missing civilizations, entire species that had simply vanished from galactic history. No ruins, no remains, no trace they had ever existed. "The ancient watchers left us warnings," Veltar continued. "Deep in their hidden archives, they wrote about a pattern, a terrible pattern that happens again and again. They called it the Great Change." On the far side of the galaxy, Dr. Park Hyunwoo sat in his small office on Earth. The walls were covered with papers and computer screens showing strange signals from space. He had been studying these signals for months, and what he found scared him. "General Kim," Hyunwoo said into his phone, "you need to see this right away." 30 minutes later, General Kim Tae-ho walked into the underground laboratory. He was a tall man with gray hair and serious eyes. Behind him came Admiral Lee Boram, a woman who had spent her life protecting Earth's oceans and now found herself preparing to protect something much larger. "Show us what you found," General Kim said. Hyunwoo pointed to his largest screen. Lines of text scrolled by in different colors. "These are messages we picked up from space. The aliens are talking about us. Most of it we can't understand, but our computers have learned to translate some words." Admiral Lee leaned closer to read. "Ancient Watchers? Great Change? What does this mean?" "The scary part," Hyunwoo said, "is that they're arguing about whether to contact us or not. Some want to leave us alone. Others think we're not dangerous yet." General Kim frowned. "Yet?" Hyunwoo pulled up another screen showing pictures of space. "These images came with the messages. Look at these star systems." He pointed to areas that looked empty. "According to the alien data, these systems used to have planets, used to have civilizations. Now there's nothing. What happened to them?" Admiral Lee asked. "That's what scares me," Hyunwoo said. "The aliens say these species evolved beyond recognition. They didn't get destroyed. They changed into something else, something the aliens can't track or understand." Back in the Galactic Council chamber, Veltar was showing the same empty star systems to the gathered aliens. "Every species that triggered the Great Change started the same way," he explained. "They were curious, they were good at solving problems, they adapted quickly to new situations. They worked together when faced with danger." A small, furry alien named Piptar raised her hand. "Those sound like good things. Why are they dangerous?" Veltar's colors shifted to deep purple. "Because when these species face a real threat, they don't just survive it, they evolve past it. And when they evolve, they change everything around them." Commander Zephyros stood up, his armor clanking. "You're talking about fairy tales, old stories meant to scare children." "Am I?" Veltar asked. He pressed a button, and the air above the chamber filled with a three-dimensional map of the galaxy. 17 star systems glowed red. "These are the systems where the Great Change happened. Notice anything?" The aliens looked at the map and gasped. The empty systems formed a perfect spiral leading toward the center of the galaxy. And at the very center, where no one ever went, was a region of space that all their star charts marked as unknown territory. The ancient watchers came from that region, Veltar said quietly. They were the first species to go through the Great Change. They've been watching the galaxy ever since, trying to prevent it from happening again. On Earth, Dr. Hyunwoo was explaining the same thing to the military leaders. The messages mention something called ancient watchers, he said. Based on what I can translate, they're very old and very powerful. They've been hiding somewhere in the galaxy for millions of years. Hiding from what? General Kim asked. From themselves, Hyunwoo said. I think they went through this great change the aliens keep talking about. And I think they've been trying to stop other species from following the same path. Admiral Lee looked at the star maps on the wall. What makes humans special? Why are the aliens worried about us specifically? Hyunwoo pulled up files showing human history. Pictures of wars, inventions, space missions, and scientific discoveries flashed by. Look at how fast we develop new technology when we're under pressure, he said. During World War II, we went from basic computers to nuclear weapons in just a few years. When we decided to go to the moon, we did it in less than a decade. Now that we know aliens exist, look what we've accomplished in just 6 months. The screen showed images of new spacecraft, weapons, and communication devices. All of them built since humanity first detected the alien signals. We don't just adapt to threats, Hyunwoo continued. We overcome them. And each time we do, we become something more than we were before. General Kim and Admiral Lee exchanged worried looks. So what are you saying? Admiral Lee asked. I'm saying the aliens are right to be scared, Hyunwoo replied. But not for the reasons they think. They're afraid we'll become like the other species that disappeared. But I think we already are. In the Galactic Council chamber, the debate was getting louder. Some aliens wanted to contact humans immediately. Others wanted to destroy Earth before humanity could develop further. Most just wanted to hide and hope the humans would never find them. Veltar raised his hand for silence. It may already be. Too late, he said. Our monitoring stations report that human technology is advancing faster than our models predicted. They're not just learning from our signals, they're improving on them. Commander Zephyros laughed again, but this time it sounded nervous. Impossible. We've been watching them for decades. They're primitive. We're primitive, Veltar corrected. Past tense. Our latest reports show human spacecraft using principles our own scientists don't understand. They've solved problems that took us centuries to figure out, and they did it in months. The chamber fell silent again. Every alien knew what this meant. The Great Change had begun. 6 months passed since the galaxy started talking about humans. During that time, the arguments in the Galactic Council grew louder and angrier. Finally, Commander Zephyros got tired of waiting. Enough talk, he declared to his war council aboard the flagship destroyer. If these humans are really dangerous, we'll stop them before they become a problem. If they're not, we'll add them to our empire like we've done with 100 other species. The Draxan Empire had conquered worlds for thousands of years. Their ships were huge and powerful. Their weapons could crack planets in half. No primitive species had ever been able to fight them. Zephyros looked at the star map showing Earth's location. Send the 4th Battle Fleet, he ordered. Make it simple. Surrender or die. 3 weeks later, 50 Draxan warships appeared at the edge of Earth's solar system. Each ship was 3 miles long and bristling with weapons. Their message to Earth was broadcast in every human language. Primitive humans, the message began. You will surrender immediately. Your species will be relocated to work camps on distant worlds. Your planet will be harvested for resources. You have 1 day to respond. President Choi Min-ho sat in the emergency bunker deep under Seoul. Around him, leaders from every nation on Earth watched the alien ships on their screens. The ships were so big they could be seen without telescopes. What are our options? President Choi asked. General Kim Tae-ho looked grim. Our space forces consist of 12 experimental ships. The aliens have 50 vessels, each one bigger than our largest spacecraft. Admiral Lee Bo-ram leaned forward. But our ships aren't exactly normal, are they? She was right. In the months since detecting alien signals, human engineers had made incredible breakthroughs. Dr. Shin Yuri had discovered how to bend space itself. Engineer Kim Han-yul had built engines that could travel faster than light. Captain Yang Su-jin had designed weapons that the aliens had never seen before. "The Taeguk is ready," Captain Yang reported from her ship hidden behind the moon. Her vessel looked nothing like the old rockets humans used to build. It was sleek and dark, made from materials that seemed to absorb light itself. "How many crew?" President Choi asked. "Just 12, Captain Yang replied. "We don't need more." On the alien flagship, Commander Zephyros was getting impatient. "Have the humans responded?" "Yes, Commander," his communications officer replied. "They said no." Zephyros couldn't believe it. "They said no?" To the entire 4th Battle Fleet? Their exact words were, "Earth does not surrender. Come and take it if you can." Zephyros's red eyes glowed brighter. "Then we'll show them what happens to species that refuse the Draxan Empire. All ships, advance to Earth. Prepare to demonstrate our power." The 50 alien warships moved toward Earth like a wall of metal and fire. Their shields glowed with energy, their weapons charged up, ready to destroy cities. Captain Yang Su-jin watched them approach from her hiding spot behind the moon. "Lieutenant Kang," she said to her tactical officer, "target their command ship." Lieutenant Kang Do-hyun's fingers danced over his controls. "Gravity cannon charged and ready, Captain." The gravity cannon was humanity's newest weapon. Instead of shooting bullets or lasers, it created tiny black holes that lasted for just a few seconds. Dr. Shin Yuri had called it weaponized space-time. "Fire," Captain Yang ordered. The Taeguk remained completely invisible as it fired. The aliens never saw the attack coming. One moment their flagship was flying toward Earth, and the next moment it was folding in on itself like paper being crumpled up. Commander Zephyros had just enough time to scream before his ship collapsed into a point smaller than an atom. The energy release lit up space like a new star. "What just happened?" shouted the captain of another Draxan ship. "The flagship is gone," came the panicked reply. "It just folded up and disappeared." "That's impossible. Humans don't have that kind of technology." Captain Yang moved her ship to a new position. The Taeguk's stealth systems were so advanced that even after firing its main weapon, the aliens still couldn't detect it. "Target the next ship," she ordered. Lieutenant Kang locked onto another Draxan vessel. "Ready, Captain." Fire. The second alien ship suffered the same fate as the first. Then the third. The fourth. Each one crumpled into nothing while the remaining aliens watched in horror. "We're under attack by invisible enemies," one alien captain broadcast. "Request immediate retreat authorization." But there was no one left to give authorization. The command structure had been the first target. On Earth, President Choi and his advisors watched the battle on their screens. What should have been humanity's darkest hour was turning into something no one had expected. "How is this possible?" asked the president. Dr. Park Hyun-woo had been studying the human response to alien contact for months. "We've been under pressure since we detected their signals," he explained. "Humans always perform beyond expectations when we're truly threatened." General Kim was getting reports from observation posts around the world. "Our scientists have developed more new technology in the past 6 months than in the previous 10 years. It's like the threat of alien contact activated something in our minds." Admiral Lee watched another alien ship disappear from the screen. "Captain Yang's ship is using principles of physics that were pure theory last year. Now we're building weapons that treat space and time like construction materials." In space, the alien fleet was falling apart. Half their ships were gone, destroyed, by an enemy they couldn't see or understand. The remaining captains were making desperate radio calls. "This is Captain Vexmon of the Crimson Thunder. We've lost 25 ships to unknown weapons. Humans are not what our intelligence reports claimed. Captain Jultar here. My sensors show no enemy ships, but we keep getting destroyed. How are they doing this?" Captain Yang Su-jin listened to their panicked communications. Her ship's computers had learned to translate their language in real time, another breakthrough that had taken human programmers just weeks to achieve. "They're scared," she reported to Earth. "They've never faced anything like our technology." "How many ships are left?" asked Admiral Lee. 18. Captain Yang replied. Should I continue the attack? President Choi thought for a moment. Can you disable their ships instead of destroying them? Our gravity weapons can be set to stun instead of kill, Lieutenant Kang reported. We can make their ships stop working without destroying them. Do it, President Choi ordered. Let's send a message without wiping them out completely. Captain Yang's next shots didn't destroy the alien ships. Instead, they twisted their hulls just enough to shut down their engines and weapons. 18 massive warships suddenly found themselves floating helpless in space. The surviving alien crews couldn't believe what had happened. Their mighty fleet, which had conquered dozens of worlds, had been defeated by a single invisible ship from a species that was supposed to be primitive. Captain Morketh, the highest-ranking alien still alive, sent a message to Earth. His voice shook with fear and confusion. Humans of Earth, he said. We surrender. Please don't destroy us. We didn't know. We didn't understand. Captain Yang's voice came back, calm and controlled. You came to our home and threatened our families. You demanded we become your slaves. Did you think we would just accept that? But you're supposed to be primitive, Captain Morketh replied. Our intelligence said you barely had space travel. Your intelligence was 6 months old, Captain Yang said. Humans change quickly when we need to. On Earth, the celebration was just beginning. Humanity had won its first space battle against impossible odds. But Dr. Park Hyun-woo wasn't celebrating. He was studying the data from the fight, and what he saw worried him. Admiral, he said to Lee Bo-ram, look at these numbers. Our technology didn't just work better than expected. It worked better than it should have been possible. What do you mean? Captain Yang's ship used principles that our physics equations say can't exist, but they do exist. We made them exist. Dr. Park looked up from his data. I think the aliens were right to be afraid, not because we're violent, but because we're changing into something they can't understand. In the Galactic Council chambers, Ambassador Veltar received the battle reports with growing dread. The thing he had feared most was happening right on schedule. The humans have begun, he announced to the emergency assembly. A single human ship defeated an entire Draxon battle fleet using technology that appears to violate known physics. The chamber erupted in panicked discussions. If primitive humans could destroy their most powerful military fleet, what would happen when humans really advanced? Veltar's crystal body turned the darkest black anyone had ever seen. Send word to the ancient watchers. Tell them the 22nd Great Change has begun. Far away in the mysterious region at the galaxy's center, ancient machines received the message and began to stir. They had been sleeping for millions of years, waiting for this moment. The pattern was starting again. Dr. Shin Yuri stared at her computer screen in disbelief. The numbers didn't make sense. They couldn't make sense. But there they were, proving that everything she thought she knew about physics was wrong. Director Park, she called across the underground laboratory. You need to see this. Director Park Jin-ho walked over to her workstation. Around them, the most advanced laboratory on Earth hummed with activity. Scientists worked day and night making discoveries that should have taken decades. What is it, Yuri? Park asked. The quantum computer finished its calculations, she said, pointing at the screen. But it didn't just solve the problems we gave it, it created new math that didn't exist yesterday. Park looked at the equations filling the screen. They were beautiful and complex, describing how space and time could be folded like paper. Did we program it to do this? No, Yuri replied. It did this on its own. The computer is thinking beyond its programming. This was happening all over Earth. Human technology wasn't just advancing, it was evolving. Machines were becoming smarter than their creators had intended. Scientists were making discoveries they hadn't been trying to make. Professor Oh Seung-min at Seoul National University was studying the changes in human beings themselves. His research had started as a simple study of stress responses. It had become something much stranger. The brain scans are incredible, he told his research team. Human neural activity has increased by 40% since first contact with the aliens. New neural pathways are forming faster than we can map them. Dr. Yoon Mi-sun looked at the latest test results. It's not just the brain. Human DNA is changing too. Genes that were inactive for thousands of years are suddenly turning on. What kind of genes? Professor O asked. Genes related to adaptation, problem solving, and something we can't identify yet. The changes are happening in real time. We can watch human evolution occurring at the cellular level. In the orbital shipyards above Earth, engineer Kim Ha-neul was overseeing the construction of humanity's new space fleet. The ships being built bore no resemblance to anything humans had created before. Admiral Lee, she reported over the communication link. The new drives are ready for testing. Admiral Lee Boram watched from the command center as the prototype ship Hanbit prepared for its first test flight. What makes these drives different from the Taeguk's engines? The Taeguk can bend space, Kim Ha-neul explained. These new ships don't move through space at all. They convince space to move around them. Reality becomes optional. The test pilot, Captain Nam Dong-wook, ran through his pre-flight checklist. Everything on his ship was new, built with technologies that hadn't existed a year ago. Control, this is Hanbit, he reported. Ready for dimensional fold test. Approved, Hanbit. Take us to Alpha Centauri and back. Captain Nam activated the drive. The ship didn't accelerate or disappear. Instead, space around it simply rearranged itself so that Alpha Centauri was suddenly next to Earth. The journey that should have taken years happened in minutes. Control, Hanbit reporting, came Nam's voice from 4 light years away. We're here. The trip was smooth. Too smooth. I don't think we actually moved at all. Back on Earth, Dr. Han Soo-hyun was studying the strangest development of all. She had discovered that human consciousness itself was changing. We're becoming connected, she explained to the Global Science Council. Not through technology, but through something deeper. Human minds are starting to share information directly. President Jang Se-young leaned forward in her chair. What do you mean, sharing information? Watch this, Dr. Han said. She showed a video of 2 test subjects in separate rooms. When one subject looked at a picture, the other subject could describe it perfectly even though they couldn't see it. That's impossible, said General Kim Tae-ho. So was defeating the Draxon fleet, Dr. Han replied. But we did it anyway. Humans are developing abilities that our science says can't exist. The changes weren't limited to Earth. Human explorers were spreading across nearby star systems, and they were finding things that shouldn't be there. Captain Yu Ji-hoon commanded the deep space vessel Sejong. His mission was to explore the outer rim of the galaxy, far from the busy inner systems where most aliens lived. Navigation Officer Song, he said to his second-in-command. What do you see on long-range sensors? Navigation. Officer Song Yoonji checked her instruments. There's a system about 50 light-years ahead. It has signs of artificial structures, but they're not showing up on any star charts. Set course, Captain Yu ordered. Let's see who doesn't want to be found. When the Sejong arrived at the unknown system, they found something unexpected. Hundreds of alien ships were gathered around a small planet. But these weren't warships or trading vessels. They were refugee ships. Captain Yu opened communication channels. Unknown vessels, this is the Earth ship Sejong. Please identify yourselves. The response came quickly, but it was filled with fear. Earth ship, this is Elder Morden of the Peaceful Collective. Please, we mean no harm. We're just trying to stay away from the chaos in the inner systems. Chaos? Captain Yu asked. What chaos? Elder. Morden's image appeared on the Sejong's main screen. He looked like a cross between a bird and a lizard with wise old eyes that had seen too much. The chaos that follows the Great Change, Morden explained. We've seen it before. When a species begins to evolve beyond normal limits, the galaxy becomes unsafe for everyone else. Captain Yu felt a chill run down his spine. Elder, what exactly is the Great Change? Morden activated a holographic display showing ancient star charts. 21 times in galactic history a species has reached the same point humans have now reached. Each time, they started with rapid technological advancement. Then they developed abilities beyond normal physics. Finally what? Captain Yu asked. Finally, they transcended physical existence entirely, Morden said. They became one with the fabric of space and time itself. And when that happened, reality around them became unstable. The hologram showed star systems flickering out of existence, planets phasing in and out of normal space, entire regions of the galaxy becoming uninhabitable. The last species to go through the Great Change called themselves the predecessors, Elder Morden continued. When they transcended, they tried to help other species, but their very presence warped reality so badly that millions of worlds became uninhabitable. Captain Yu transmitted this information back to Earth, where it caused panic in the highest levels of government. President Jiang Se-young called an emergency meeting of world leaders. Scientists, military officers, and politicians gathered in the secure bunker beneath Seoul. Are we becoming a threat to the entire galaxy? She asked. Dr. Park Hyun-woo had been analyzing the alien data for hours. The pattern is clear, he said. Every species that reaches our current level of development faces the same choice. Keep evolving and risk destroying everything around them, or find a way to control their transformation. Can we control it? Asked Admiral Lee. Dr. Shin Yuri had been working on this problem since the alien warnings began. I think we can, she said, but it requires something that no other species has ever tried. What? President Jiang asked. Conscious evolution, Yuri replied. Instead of just letting the changes happen, we need to guide them. We need to evolve with purpose instead of just evolving because we can. Meanwhile, in the hidden archives at the center of the galaxy, the ancient watchers were stirring from their million-year sleep. These beings had once been like humans, curious, adaptable, always pushing the boundaries of what was possible. Now they existed as pure consciousness, able to observe everything in the galaxy, but unable to truly participate in it. They could think and know, but they could no longer feel or experience. The Watchers had been monitoring human development with growing interest. Unlike the previous 21 species, humans seemed aware of the danger they represented. They were asking the right questions. One of the Watchers, who had once been named something equivalent to Keeper of the Pattern, sent a message toward Earth. It would take time to arrive, but when it did, it would change everything. Back on Earth, Dr. Yoon Mi-sun made a discovery that shocked the scientific community. The genetic changes aren't random, she announced to her research team. They're following a pattern that looks almost like instructions. Instructions for what? Asked her assistant. For conscious control of evolution itself, she replied. It's like our DNA is giving us the tools to guide our own transformation. As news of this discovery spread, humans around the world began to understand what was happening to them. They weren't just evolving randomly. They were being prepared for a choice that could determine the fate of the galaxy. The question was, would they make the right choice, or would they follow the same path as the 21 species that had come before them? In the outer rim, Elder Morden watched human ships spreading across the galaxy and wondered if this time would be different. Perhaps, he said to his aide, these humans will find a way to become gods without forgetting how to be mortal. The Great Change was accelerating, and soon humanity would have to decide what kind of future they wanted to create. Captain Nam Dong-wook stood on the bridge of the exploration ship Sejong as it emerged from its reality-fold jump near Proxima Centauri. 2 years had passed since humanity's first contact with aliens, and everything had changed. Navigation Officer, Song, he said to his second-in-command, run a full sensor sweep of the system. Navigation Officer Song Yunji worked at her station, but the readings she got didn't make sense. Captain, the sensors are detecting artificial structures throughout the system, but they're not showing up where they should be. What do you mean? Captain Nam asked. It's like the structures are hiding in dimensions we can barely detect, Song explained. But somehow, I know exactly where they are. I can feel them. This was the new reality for human explorers. Their enhanced consciousness allowed them to sense things that their instruments couldn't detect. They could feel the presence of alien installations across interstellar distances. At the Keith Dominion monitoring station, hidden in the asteroid belt, Station Commander Thelmos watched his sensors go crazy as the human ship appeared. "How did they find us?" he asked his crew. "Our base is completely shielded. No known technology should be able to detect us." "Sir," his sensor operator replied, "the human ship isn't using technology to find us. Their ship's path suggests they're navigating by instinct." Commander Thelmos immediately sent an emergency transmission to the Galactic Council. "The humans aren't just expanding into space. They're hunting us. Every system they enter, they somehow know exactly where we're hiding." The message reached Ambassador Veltar on Nexus Prime just as he was studying reports from across the galaxy. Human ships were appearing everywhere, and they were finding alien bases that had been hidden for centuries. "It's worse than we thought," Veltar announced to the emergency council session. "The humans have developed abilities that transcend normal space-time perception. They're not detecting our hidden bases. They're sensing them directly through the quantum field." Back on Earth, Dr. Han Soo-hyun was studying this exact phenomenon. Her research into human consciousness had revealed something extraordinary. "We're not just thinking differently," she explained to the Global Defense Council. "Human minds are becoming quantum entangled with the fabric of reality itself. Every human consciousness is becoming a node in a vast information network." President Jang Se-young looked at the brain scans on the wall. "What does that mean in practical terms?" "It means humans can sense things across galactic distances," Dr. Han replied. "When Captain Nam's crew enters a new system, they're not just observing it. They're quantum connected to everything in it. They can sense alien presence the same way you can sense someone watching you." The implications were staggering. Human explorers didn't need advanced sensors to find hidden alien bases. They could feel them through direct quantum interaction with local spacetime. Commander Yoo Ji-hoon was experiencing this firsthand during his diplomatic mission to the Outer Rim. His ship, the Hanbit, had been sent to make peaceful contact with refugee species hiding from galactic civilization. "Captain," his communications officer reported, "we're receiving a transmission from the Peaceful Collective. They want to meet." "Put them through," Commander Yoo ordered. Elder Morden's image appeared on the main screen. The old alien looked even more worried than during their last meeting. "Commander Yoo," Elder Morden said, "we need to talk. In person. There are things about your species that you must understand before it's too late." 2 hours later, Commander Yoo materialized in the Collective's council chamber through humanity's new teleportation technology. The alien representatives around the table looked at him with a mixture of fear and sadness. "Commander," Elder Morden began, "we've seen your kind before. Not humans specifically, but species that develop the same abilities you're developing now." "You mean the other civilizations that went through the Great Change?" Commander Yoo asked. "Yes. And we need you to understand what really happened to them." Elder Morden activated a holographic display showing ancient records. The last ones called themselves the predecessors. They started just like humans, curious, peaceful, rapidly advancing. The hologram showed images of beings that looked remarkably similar to humans. They had built great cities, explored space, and developed technologies beyond imagination. "What happened to them?" Commander Yoo asked. "They became one with the quantum field," Elder Mordoon explained. "At first, they thought this was wonderful. They could sense everything in the galaxy. They could travel anywhere instantly. They could manipulate matter and energy with pure thought." "That doesn't sound terrible," Commander Yoo said. "It wasn't at first," Elder Morden replied. "The predecessors tried to help other species. They shared their knowledge, prevented wars, guided civilizations toward peace. But their very existence began to warp reality around them. The hologram showed star systems where the laws of physics seemed to break down. Planets that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Suns that burned with impossible colors. When a species becomes one with the quantum field, Elder Morden continued, their consciousness affects reality at the fundamental level. The predecessors didn't mean to cause harm, but everywhere they went, the normal rules of existence became unstable. Commander Yoo felt a chill run through him. What happened to the other species in the galaxy? We had to flee, Elder Morden said simply. Entire sectors became uninhabitable for normal matter. The predecessors realized what they had done and tried to isolate themselves, but it was too late. They had transcended physical existence so completely that they couldn't return to normal spacetime. The hologram showed the final images. Vast regions of space that existed in a state of quantum flux, where reality itself was constantly changing. The predecessors became the ancient watchers, Elder Morden explained. They exist now as pure consciousness, observing the galaxy but unable to interact with it normally. They've been trying to prevent other species from following the same path. Commander Yu transmitted this information back to Earth, where it caused the biggest crisis in human history. Dr. Li Changmin, Earth's leading expert on quantum consciousness, studied the alien data with growing concern. If this is true, she told the Emergency Council, then we're not just evolving into something new, we're evolving into something that could destroy the galaxy by accident. President Jiang Se-young looked around the table at her advisors. How long do we have before we reach the point of no return? Dr. Shin Yuri had been running calculations based on the rate of human development. Based on current trends, we have maybe 6 months before human consciousness becomes so quantum entangled that we can't control it anymore. Can we stop the process? General Kim Tae-ho asked. That's the wrong question, Dr. Han Soo-hyun interjected. We can't stop evolution itself, but we might be able to guide it. How? President Jiang asked. Dr. Han pulled up her latest research. The key is conscious choice. Every other species let the transformation happen naturally. But humans are the first species to understand what's happening while it's happening. You're saying we can evolve deliberately instead of accidentally? Admiral Lee Borum asked. Exactly, Dr. Han replied. We can choose what aspects of consciousness to enhance and what aspects to keep grounded in normal reality. We can become more than human without losing our humanity. Meanwhile, deep in space, Captain An Bo-sung was making a discovery that would change everything. Her research vessel Hanbit had detected something in the galactic core, the mysterious region where no one ever went. Captain, her science officer reported, we're detecting artificial structures in the core region. Massive structures, and they're calling to us. Captain An could feel it too. A pull toward the center of the galaxy, like a voice in her mind that spoke without words. Set course for the galactic core, she ordered. It's time we met the ancient watchers face to face. On Nexus Prime, Ambassador Veltar received the news with dread. A human ship is approaching the core region, he announced to the Galactic Council. If they make contact with the ancient watchers directly, it could trigger the final phase of the Great Change. Can we stop them? Commander Zephyros asked. His defeat by humanity had made him more cautious, but also more desperate. With what? Veltar replied. Human technology is already beyond our understanding, and now they have abilities that don't depend on technology at all. The truth was becoming clear to everyone in the galaxy. Humanity wasn't just another species going through the Great Change. They were the first species to approach the transformation, with full knowledge of what they were becoming. The question was, would that knowledge be enough to change the outcome? In her private chambers, Elder Morden of the Peaceful Collective made a decision that surprised even herself. She opened a communication channel to Earth. Humans of Earth, she broadcast, we offer you our help, not because we think you can avoid the Great Change, but because you might be the first species capable of choosing how it happens. The message would take time to reach Earth, but when it arrived, it would mark the beginning of the most important alliance in galactic history. The hunt for understanding had begun, and time was running out. Dr. Li Changmin had spent her entire life studying ancient civilizations, but nothing had prepared her for what she found in the galactic core. Her research ship Discovery floated in space near structures so massive they made planets look like pebbles. Captain An, she called to her ship's commander. These aren't just ancient buildings. They're an entire artificial world built around the central black hole. Captain An Bo-sung looked at the readings with amazement. The engineering required for this is beyond anything we can imagine. How old do you think it is? The quantum dating suggests millions of years, Dr. Lee replied. But the strangest part is that the structures are still active. Something is still living here. As their ship approached the mysterious structures, Dr. Lee felt the familiar sensation that all humans had developed, the ability to sense things beyond normal perception. But this time what she sensed made her gasp. "Captain," she whispered, "there are minds here. Ancient minds, and they're human." The communication came as a direct transmission into their consciousness rather than through their radio equipment. The voice that spoke to them was unmistakably human, but older than anything they had ever encountered. "Welcome, children of Earth," the voice said. "We have been waiting for you to find us. We are the Ancient Watchers, and we are your future speaking to your past." Dr. Lee's hand shook as she activated the ship's recording equipment. "Who are you? How are you human if you've been here for millions of years?" "We are humanity from a previous cycle," the voice explained. "Every few million years a species reaches the point you have now reached. Some of those species have been human. You are not the first humans to exist in this galaxy." The revelation hit Dr. Lee like a physical blow. "Previous humans, how is that possible?" "Life follows patterns," the Ancient Watcher explained. "When conditions are right, evolution produces similar results across different worlds and different times. You are perhaps the fifth human species to reach this level of development." Images began forming in Dr. Lee's mind, not seen with her eyes but understood directly by her consciousness. She saw worlds where beings identical to modern humans had built great civilizations, reached for the stars, and faced the same choice that Earth now faced. "What happened to the others?" Captain An asked. "They chose transcendence," the Watcher replied. "They became one with the quantum field, gaining infinite knowledge and power, but in doing so, they lost the ability to truly live. We can observe everything, understand everything, but we can no longer feel anything." Dr. Lee understood now why the voice sounded so sad. "You became gods, but you stopped being human." "Exactly. We exist now as pure consciousness, able to guide and protect, but unable to experience joy, love, or the simple pleasure of being alive. We can touch the universe, but the universe cannot touch us back." Captain An transmitted these revelations back to Earth, where they reached President Kim Young-suk in the middle of the most important meeting in human history. Leaders from every nation sat around the table with the galaxy's greatest scientists and philosophers. "So the choice is clear," President Kim said after reading the transmission. "We can become gods and lose our humanity, or remain human and eventually die out like any other species." Dr. Oh Soo-jin, Earth's leading expert on controlled evolution, stood up. "That's not necessarily true. The Ancient Watchers represent what happens when evolution is allowed to proceed naturally, but we have something no previous species had." "What's that?" asked General Kim Tae-ho. "Knowledge," Dr. Oh replied. "We know what we're becoming before we become it. That gives us the possibility of choosing a different path." She activated a holographic display showing her latest research. "I believe we can evolve selectively. We can enhance our abilities while retaining our essential humanity. But it requires a conscious choice by every human being, a species-wide decision to guide our own transformation." President Kim looked around the table. "You're talking about controlled evolution on a global scale. Is that even possible?" "The genetic changes we've been observing suggest it is," Dr. O explained. "Human DNA is already adapting to give us more control over our own development. It's like evolution is preparing us to take conscious control of the process." Back in the galactic core, Dr. Lee was learning more about humanity's options from the Ancient Watchers. "The choice you face is not just about your own species," the Watcher explained. "If you choose transcendence like we did, you'll gain infinite power but lose your connection to normal reality. If you choose to remain purely human, you'll eventually stagnate and fade away." "Is there a third option?" Dr. Lee asked. "Perhaps," the Watcher replied. "We have observed your species closely. Humans seem uniquely capable of conscious choice at the species level. You might be able to find a balance that no previous species achieved. What kind of balance? Evolution with wisdom. Becoming more than human while choosing to remain human. Using your enhanced abilities to protect and guide others while maintaining your connection to mortal existence. The concept was staggering. The ancient watchers were suggesting that humanity could become the galaxy's guardians without losing their essential nature. On Earth, the debate raged for weeks. Some humans wanted to embrace full transcendence and gain godlike powers. Others wanted to reject the changes entirely and remain purely human. But most began to understand that there might be a middle path. Dr. Han Soo-hyun had discovered that human consciousness was already adapting to the challenge. We're developing the ability to exist on multiple levels simultaneously, she explained to the Global Council. We can enhance our quantum awareness while keeping our emotional and physical connections intact. The decision came down to a global vote. Every human being on Earth and in the colonies would choose not just for themselves, but for their entire species. President Kim addressed the world one final time before the vote. Citizens of Earth, we stand at the most important crossroads. In human history, we can become gods who no longer understand what it means to be alive. We can remain unchanged and eventually fade into insignificance, or we can choose to become something new. Protectors who remember what it means to be protected. Guides who remember what it means to need guidance. The vote was not just unanimous. It was instantaneous. As soon as the question was asked, every human consciousness on Earth and beyond responded with the same answer. They chose evolution with wisdom. The moment the choice was made, something extraordinary happened. Human DNA began reorganizing itself not randomly, but purposefully. The quantum entanglement with reality became controlled rather than chaotic. Humans began developing abilities that enhanced their nature without changing it fundamentally. Captain Young Soo-jin, now commanding humanity's first protector fleet, could manipulate space and time, but still felt joy when she saw a beautiful sunset. Dr. Shin Yuri could understand the deepest mysteries of the universe, but still got excited about simple discoveries. Humans had become more than they were while remaining exactly who they were. The galactic community watched in amazement as humanity implemented their choice. Instead of transcending beyond recognition, they had evolved into something unprecedented. Gods who chose to remain mortal. Ambassador Veltar addressed the Galactic Council with wonder in his crystalline voice. For the first time in galactic history, a species has reached the great change and chosen a new path. The humans have become powerful enough to reshape reality, but wise enough to use that power responsibly. Elder Mordun of the Peaceful Collective sent a message to Earth. You have done something we thought impossible. You have evolved without losing your souls. From the galactic core, the ancient watchers observed their descendants with something that might have been pride, if they could still feel such emotions. Perhaps, one of them transmitted to Earth, you can succeed where we failed. Perhaps you can be the guardians we tried to become, protecting the galaxy while still being part of it. Humanity's response came from President Kim Young-suk speaking for her entire species. We will protect what needs protecting, guide what needs guidance, and learn what needs learning. But we will do it as humans, flawed, mortal, and connected to the universe we serve. The transformation was complete. Humanity had evolved beyond their limitations while choosing to retain their essential nature. They had become the galaxy's protectors, not in spite of their humanity, but because of it. The warning had come too late to stop the process, but just in time to guide it toward a future where power and wisdom walked hand in hand. For the first time in cosmic history, gods remembered how to dream, how to love, and how to be human. The galaxy would never be the same, but it would be safe, watched over by guardians who understood both the power of transcendence and the value of remaining grounded in the reality they protected. The great change had finally found its balance, and humanity had shown the universe that evolution and humanity were not opposites but partners in creating a better tomorrow.